weather is starting to change in Michigan, but I got one more trip in me that I need to make. So in this video, I am going to give you the 10 things that I think you should do when you are preparing for any type of motorcycle trip. Alrighty, so I am going to go over the 10 items, that's right, 10, that I think about, and I think it's something for you to consider when you are going on a motorcycle trip. I had to write some notes because there were 10 of them, and well, because I'm old and can't remember crap. Alright, but I do remember most of them, so let's start with the first one. I think it's critical that you make sure that your bike is ready to go. Not only or should we go through the clocks every time, which I don't, I need to get better at, but I think making sure the bike has been serviced if it needs to, if you need to change the fluids, if you need to change a tire. I recently went on a trip that I decided I wanted to get 2,000 more miles out of the tire. Every time I took a tight turn, I was worried that the tire was too far down, wasn't worth it. So just make sure that ultimately the bike is ready to go. Pack appropriately. Now, I am the king of taking too much crap on a motorcycle trip. This is a 2021 Road Glide Limited. It has a tour pack. I'll load that baby up like you wouldn't believe. Matter of fact, Mrs. BoDean and I went on a trip, I don't know, it was a couple of years ago. We had ourselves on, we had the bike packed, we had a rick rack on the back trunk, and way too much crap. Not only was it inconvenient because we ended up mailing the rick rack home, because the bike was just way overloaded, and at slow speeds it just was not good. Won't be doing that ever again. So pack for that trip. If it's a couple-day trip, come on. You need a pair of jeans, one pair of underwear. Okay, maybe a couple pair of underwear. And, you know, you don't need all those clothes. T-shirt for each day. You're a guy, a hat. I mean, what else do you need? And you're good to go. So pack appropriately for your trip. And I think I just get bit by a bee. Well, that stinks, but the video must go on. Have somewhat of a travel route. Now, I know a lot of people go on trips and they're going, oh, I'm going to the mountains. I'm just going to go and ride. And I get that, right? I totally get that spontaneity, and I definitely respect that, and I think that's kind of cool. But for me, I like to at least have some sort of idea on what the route is going to be and how I'm going to ultimately get there. Now, I'll talk a little bit later about giving yourself enough time, but to me, you got to have some sort of idea on where you're going, how you're going to get there, what your ETA is. A lot of times just to be able to share with the folks that you're meeting. But at the end of the day, have some sort of idea what the plan is, unless you don't care about having plans, and then you just roll out to that. I know every motorcycle trip I've went on, I had some sort of idea of the roads I was traveling, and then I adapted as I needed to on the trip. If you can, try to check out if there's any major construction anywhere. This isn't part of the video, but since I am stuck behind it, you know, having some sort of ideas, is there any major construction that you might be able to see on the way? And make sure that you're timing it. I, a couple of years ago on that trip with my wife, decided to end up going through city at like 4 in the afternoon, and it was a flippin' mess. I will never, ever do that again. So if you can plan it, try to make sure that you can avoid as much of the hassle as you potentially can. Also, I think it's important to have some sort of communication plan with home. For me, Mrs. BoDean, if I was going on, let's say, an 8-hour ride, she wouldn't call me after 4 or 5 hours to bug me and go, dude, why didn't you call me? She would call me probably genuinely concerned about my safety. Something happened to him? Is he okay? We normally have a little routine when she knows I'm on the bike, is if she calls 2 times in a row, that means I need to stop and call her back. If it's just 1 time, then I am good to go. But I will call her normally a couple hours in when I grab lunch, or just a text that says, hey, I'm good, here's where I'm at, and then I give her a buzz kind of when I get there. It's just a way to make home a little bit less concerned, as well as let everybody know where you're at. If you don't have that significant other at home, just reach out to a family member or a friend and let them know what you're doing. Hell, if you don't have anybody to connect with, just connect with me. I'd be glad to take that call from you. 2 years ago when I went to the Windy Nine in Ohio, I went there with a buddy. It was just the 2 of us that year, and our plan was to ride all 9 of these roads. Well, you know what? Didn't happen. Didn't happen at all. So in my mind, it's important to have a must-see list. To me, is what are those 2 or 3 roads, or what are those 2 or 3 sites or places that you want to stop that are must-sees, so you can prioritize those, and then get through the rest of the list. That way you won't be disappointed, or it may take you off track to do something that you wish you didn't do instead of something else. Have a priority list. Have that A list of things I'm going to do, and then that backup list of here's all the other items that I would like to see when I'm there, but if I miss them, it's okay. I'll catch them the next time. I think it's also important to make sure that on the trip that you are prepared for the unexpected. In addition to what we talked about earlier on having your bike prepared, I think it is important to have things with you. Any tools that you will need, duct tape and zip ties. I mean, what else do you really need? No, kidding, of course, but what tools do you actually need? Suntan lotion, right? We tend to not do that as much as we should, and we end up getting burned out there. But what are those things that could come up, whether it's, having a little air compressor in your bike? I actually did a video on one a couple months back. I'll link that at the end of this that you can check out. It's really cheap. You can keep it on your bike, and you can at least air up if you need to get somewhere, if you need to get your tire repaired. Obviously making sure that you have rain gear, but kind of think through those things that could happen on the way there that you want to make sure you have some sort of plan for, because there's going to be unexpected stuff, but all you can do is prepare the best you can. I don't know about you guys, but I'm one of those guys that knows I want to fill up my truck when I'm on my way home from work, because I know I won't be able to get work the next day. I want to fill it up at night, but I seem to never, ever do that. I always wait until the morning. I think that part. I also play that how low can I go game, which is probably not a smart thing to do, but it's only cost me once. That's a whole different video, but I will tell you that I think preparing the night before, as much as not only putting fuel or petrol in your motorcycle, I think it's important to be packed. I like to be packed, and I mean motorcycle packed, not just all my stuff in a bag or whatever I'm carrying it with, but I am packed on the bike, because you know what? I want or need that stress in the morning of, did I forget this? Do I have this? Do I remember this? And you spend an hour getting ready, and it's much easier when you're off to a fresh, clean start and you're just riding while you're excited about the trip. To me, I think it's important to have your final destination accommodation planned out, right? So I know there's a lot of folks, as a matter of fact, a good friend of mine, HarleyDayRider, when him and his bride go on a trip, they always, if it's multiple days, will figure out that hotel accommodations a lot of times from Mrs. HDR on the back of the bike of, all right, another 100 miles, here's a hotel, let's stop there. And I think that works well, and I'm actually jealous of their ability to not plan like that. But to me, I have tried that, and actually it was quite refreshing. But at least the final destination, I think that needs figured out. If you're planning to go somewhere and going, there's tons of hotels, I don't need to worry about it, or I think it's critical to have that final place nailed down, so when you get there and get off the bike, you have a place to park yourself and put kind of an end to that day, and not have to worry about accommodations. When I happen to go out with friends on trips, we will almost every time get an Airbnb. When it's Mrs. BoDean and I, we will normally make sure that we get some sort of hotel that's not completely a dive, but not the Ritz-Carlton either. So I think it's important to have those accommodations nailed down way before your time to get there. Okay, the other thing for at least me is don't press. And what I mean is if you have a trip that's a 6-hour ride, you figure you're going to stop for an hour, that's 7 hours, plan 8 hours. Plan for maybe taking that road that you aren't going to go down, a different route. Plan for that, okay, I'm actually going to sit and eat at a restaurant instead of just grabbing something on the way through. Don't press yourself for time. I know when I go on a trip with buddies, we were always planning about, hey, we're going to all be there 4 to 6-ish, right? And we all kind of plan leave according to that. But, one guy may show up at 6 or 7 or 4:30, but don't press because that's not any fun. It doesn't give you flexibility, and then you're always worried about, crap, I got 100 miles to go and I only have, 30 minutes to get there. It's just not worth it. Give yourself plenty of time so you can enjoy it. And that is really the last one that I think is the most critical, which is remember why you're taking the trip, right? Whether it's the ride, the journey, or the destination, or in my case, I like both, honestly. I like journeys and destinations. Make sure you understand why and remember and remind yourself, which I have to do, on why you're going, right? The trip I took to the Windy Nine earlier in the year, I got to hang out with 3 or 4 or 5 friends that I hadn't seen that we all meet once a year. I met some people that have become good friends that I talked to a lot that we just hadn't met yet. And now we're planning potential vacations together. I met a bunch of fellow motovloggers and YouTubers that I didn't ever was able to shake their hand or eat with them or anything else like that. So remember why you're doing it and do everything you can just to kind of get it together so you're not pressing yourself and you really have the opportunity to enjoy it. Hope that helps. By the way, I was inspired on this video by a good friend of mine, Broncoride, who did a somewhat similar video on just some of tips that he had on a trip, and it kind of made me think about what's important to me, not as much on the road, but in preparation before, during, and after. So I appreciate the idea from him. I'm going to link that video at the end so you can go over and check him out. If you don't know Broncoride, he's one of my best friends on the planet, and I think you'll enjoy his channel if you're already not a big fan like I am. Hope that helps. I would love to hear from all of you. What did I miss? Do you do it any differently? And what's the key, 2 or 3 keys for you to make sure you enjoy your trip whenever you go on a motorcycle event or meet up with friends or just getting away by yourself? Love to hear your feedback. Thanks for checking in on the channel. You all be safe. Check in a friend, and we'll make sure we'll see you on the next one.